today's video I thought might be a little bit better to do something for people who maybe haven't prepped before, or who've never done a show, or maybe even are just thinking about doing a show. And so it's something that is on your mind. Pretty much what brought this up for me was, obviously, I'm in prep. So there's number one. Two, my friend and boss Paul over at ProPhysique.com told me that I should finally get an athlete page for myself going. Well, while I was doing the athlete page, I went back and I was uploading pictures from my first year of competing. And seeing pictures from my first year of competing till now, it really showed me a huge difference. And I also obviously can now realize the difference in what I did to get ready for those shows as well, beyond just the normal progression of all the extra muscle mass that I've added, and learning how to pose and things like that. But I would have been very, very appreciative of knowing some of the basic stuff before I had gotten myself into my first shows, because I don't think that I really was as prepared as I could have been, or really even should have been. So I think first and foremost, for myself, I'm a men's physique competitor, so we have the posing and board shorts, and it's really just a front and back normally for the actual judging, depending what league you're doing. But I think no matter what division you're choosing to compete in, first and foremost, your posing needs to be addressed. One of the things I really like to do is I have a little camera stand, and I actually put a camera, normally my phone, down where the judges would be sitting. And I use that to videotape myself posing so I can actually critique my own posing. If you can afford, or there's a good posing coach that's available to you, that's something that I definitely recommend. Because it doesn't matter how good your physique is, if you don't know how to show it off properly, and if you can't show it well, the judges are never going to see it. Now, this goes for bikini, it goes for bodybuilding, figure, every division, it doesn't matter. You need to be practicing your posing. To be completely honest, if you've been competing for a while, you probably already do, and so you don't need to practice it as long. But I definitely recommend that every day you train, after you train, you practice your posing for at least 15 minutes. You know, if you want, do your posing routine, walk out, treat your phone just as if you were on stage and if it was a judge. And then go back, look over, critique, and figure out what you liked and what you didn't like. When you like something, take the time to practice that over and over again. Learn how that feels, you know? That way, because you're not going to be able to see yourself in the mirrors on stage. You're not going to be able, you know, to know really how other people are seeing you. So, this gives you the opportunity to, one, see how you look from the judge's viewpoint prior to getting on stage, and then two, use that to really learn how to feel your poses correctly. And so that was probably the main thing that I messed up on during my first show. Probably the second biggest thing is I didn't understand what it was going to take to get where I wanted to be. My first year, I wasn't where I wanted to be. My second year, I was really happy for my second show, and that was the first time I had ever worked with Paul, and I had only worked with him for a week. That being said, this year should be my best year. Continual improvement is what we're always striving for. My first year, I was really happy with how I looked, but I didn't like how I placed. I took last in my first show, and I tied for last in my second show. My second year, I got third call-outs at a national qualifier, and then I took second place in a natural show. This past year, about a month and a half, or 2, maybe 3 months ago, I took third place at a natural show. Now, this last year I did my own prep, so I did not push myself hard. It was not mentally stressful, it was not emotionally stressful. Really, I just sort of did what I felt like for the most part. And then, so it was really enjoyable. But to have pushed myself to get to where I really wanted to see myself when it came to my conditioning and how lean I was, I needed to push myself a little bit further, probably to the point where I wouldn't enjoy it so much. That's one of the big reasons that I chose to work with Paul, or was blessed to have the opportunity to work with Paula this year. It gives me the peace of mind to know that I don't have to be in control. I can't second guess myself. I can't wait too long. I'm not going to screw myself up. And so I think that one of the things, and as you compete longer, this becomes even more important, to make sure that you have a good coach that's taking care of you so that you don't have to make those hard decisions yourself. I think that takes a lot of the mental stress and anguish out of the whole situation, because simply dieting that hard to get that lean is already difficult enough. It's already going to be stressful. You're already going to be cranky. You're already going to be tired, and so if you can alleviate any of that stress, it's just best to do it. The third thing is I didn't know what quantified a good coach versus a bad coach. All I knew is that, hey, they look good. Maybe they'll probably be able to get me to look like them. Or, hey, they had this one person I know and that person looks good. Maybe they'll do a good job with me. And a good coach should obviously, have competitors that are doing well. That's a given. If they don't have any competitors that are doing well, then that might be something you want to look at. If they've been doing it for a while and have established themselves a base for business. But a good coach doesn't give you a cookie cutter plan. My first year competing, I got a very cookie cutter meal plan. And one of the things I realize now is that meal plan wasn't written for me. That was written for somebody else a long time ago, and it was just copy and pasted and sort of given to me. Now, my second year competing, my coach that I had originally worked with, I felt waited a little bit too long to cut calories, which can be done. So maybe the coach at the time thought that mentally I wouldn't do well with it, or I wouldn't adhere, or whatever the case may be. But I also felt that coach didn't really give me the attention that I felt was necessary when I brought concerns and complaints up. I think that there's a fine line between what are reasonable and what are unreasonable concerns and complaints. There's always going to be very low maintenance clients, and there's always going to be very high maintenance clients. But I would say that a reasonable concern would be if you really don't think you're going to be lean enough, and it's the first time you brought it up and it gets dismissed, and you continue to have this concern, and it gets dismissed. A good coach will at the very least take the time to explain to you why they are doing what they're doing. I think that can be hard to really do as a coach, especially if you have a large workload, but it's something that you understand that the mental aspect is very important when it comes to prepping, because you have to have people to adhere to it. I think that your coach should be able to at least explain it in a way to where you can trust it. The next thing that I think is really important is being coachable yourself. If you go into the process thinking you know more than your coach, researching and doing a lot of other things, it's going to make it hard to listen to your coach. It's going to make it hard to trust your coach. Even if you have a crap coach, you've paid them. The money's there. And if you've gotten into the point where you're 2 or 3 weeks out and you have a crap coach, Stick with it. Be coachable. It's going to teach you a valuable lesson. It might not be fun. You might not place as well. You might not look as good as you want. But it's going to teach you a valuable lesson that you can use in the future when you're looking at coaches and you're looking at hiring coaches and people to take care of your contest prep and help you out with it. And if you have a good coach, that shit's still hard, There's still times where you're going to be hungry, you're going to be cranky, you're going to be low energy, you're going to have crappy lifting days in the gym. It happens. And so you have to understand that there's a goal at the end, okay? And that coach is there to help you meet that goal. Other things are going to happen along the way. You have to trust that they know what they're doing. And because given that you've gotten a good coach, they do know what the hell they're doing. I work with Paul, so obviously I don't have to worry about having a crap coach. And if I did have a crap coach, my education that I've obtained is going to let me know it. That being said, you do what you're told. You do what you're asked. I'm not going to... There's obviously a line. Some people are willing to do things that others aren't. I'm one of the people that's not willing to do certain things. If I were to have a coach that were to tell me to do certain things to try and to get me to look better or to put on more size, whatever the case may be, I wouldn't do it. And if that's something that you're not comfortable with, don't do it. I also know that there's some coaches out there that ask their clients to send them completely nude update pics. Thank God, my coach is a dude, so it's not something I have to worry about. But it's not something that he would do anyways. And I don't think it's something... I don't see the reason for why anyone would need completely nude prep pictures when you can see the physique perfectly well in a posing suit. And so, that might be a red flag of something if you're asked to do that you say, no, absolutely not. I think one of the last main points I want to bring up is that you have to prioritize your life. I don't feel like prep should be something to where you are giving up people and giving up relationships. It shouldn't have a negative impact on those things. Yes, you can get irritable, you can get grumpy, especially when you're getting down to really, really lean, low body fat levels. But I personally am not willing to give up my good relationships that I have just to get on stage and to look at it a show. And this is what I want to do with my life, So I think that one of the things, balance is important, and that's why I'm a big fan of If It Fits Your Macros flexible dieting, because I still have the when things aren't off limits, I don't feel the need that I have to have something. So I can go out to eat with my friends and not eat, or order something that I can track, or at the very least enjoy their company. I think that if I'm afraid to go out to the restaurant, if I'm afraid, then maybe I need to evaluate what I'm doing. Now, I'm not saying that going out to a restaurant when you're 2 weeks out is a good idea, but when you're 10 weeks out, when you're 12 weeks out, chances are your macros aren't so low to where you have no self-control and you can't deal with it. And so, you don't want to sacrifice all of your relationships and all those people that matter to you, the people you love that are important to you, just to do a show. So make sure that you have your priorities straight, whatever they may be, and that people can understand that, and that way they're actually going to be more available and more willing to support you through what you're doing.